Okay, so I lost my train of thought for a second, but let me get back to this thing. The question was, why, or did you know racism is a silent killer? Because it's linked to stress, and stress is a silent killer. And so the question at hand, the issue at hand, living in this country, living under this oppressive system. Now, if you don't believe it's an oppressive system, there's the door. This is not an issue that is up for debate. All those studies have been done. This is an oppressive society. And that oppression reaches out and touches everyone. There are all forms, there are all types of oppression, different layers, different levels of oppression. But oppression is as American as that proverbial apple pie. So the question was, do you recognize the stress that comes with just being here, just living here? Whether you're poor, working class, poor class, working class, middle class, upper class, wealthy. Now, maybe if you're in the wealthy class, you may be so wealthy that you're inoculated to it. Maybe if you're rich and you're in the upper class, maybe the money is a vaccine that allows you to struggle through with less stress than what is naturally penetrating and devastating to your ears. Y'all remember that old school hip hop song? But anyhow, for the vast majority of people living under an oppressive regime, living under a racist system, does damage to your mind, body, and soul, whether you know it or not. So you could be the type of person, there's a certain number of the population. There's some people who are, and I know this gonna sound offensive. I'm not meaning it offensively, but I don't have a better word for it right now, so I just have to use it. Some people are just airheads. And again, I don't mean it in the derogatory way that I know it is most often used, but what I mean is they just live in a bubble of their own existence. They are technically immune. They might actually be the only ones who might be immune to the racism, the oppression, the stress, because they live in their own fantasy world where they just don't know nothing. They don't know anything other than what is 6 feet in front of them. Now, for those kind of people, even them, because America has a way of sending wake-up calls to everyone, even them, they can live their life in that bubble. More power to you. If that's your natural predisposition and your natural consciousness, more power to you. There's a blessing. They say, God's look after, what is that phrase? God's look after babies and fools or something like that. Again, all of this stuff sounds offensive, and I'm truly not trying to make it sound like that. I hope you get the essence of what I'm saying. So you can live your life in this bubble, in this fantasy world where you just don't know. You don't know that police brutality is even a thing that people are talking about, let alone happening. I just never paid attention. I didn't know. I didn't know. And that's not a shot. That's not a jab. And it doesn't matter who you are. You can be that person. You can be black, white, red, yellow. It doesn't matter. It's not a racial thing. It's not an ethnic thing. It's a personality thing. So you could just simply be completely unaware of these realities. Now, if that's the case, like I said, there's a certain pocket of the population who live their life like that. But even them, they almost always invariably, they get a wake-up call And you know when they've gotten their wake-up call, whether you know them personally or you end up seeing them crashing out on social media or something of the nature, and they're like, oh my God, I can't believe this is still going on, because they've been living their life in this bubble where they thought all the problems had been handled. And so, yes, even for them, they get this wake-up call. The wake-up call itself is a stress-inducing incident, which leads me back to my point. Living in this country is stress-inducing. And a lot of this stress is intimately attached and entangled with the racism that is the air of this country. So you have to be aware of this. This is not an argument. This is not a conversation. This is not a proponent or proposal for evacuation and exodus and leaving. I could make it that, but that's not why I'm talking about it. This is a conversation about management, about survival, about health, mental health. I know I don't do a lot of talk on mental health. I've had a couple of shows. I've had a couple of streams on mental health. And I only bring these up when I am thus moved by the spirit of my ancestors. So apparently this is today's spiritual download as I do my walk and talk. So again, and if you're not sure who you're listening to, this is Shabazz with the proper perspective. Like, share, and subscribe is the name of the game. So please make sure you do that. Hit all the buttons. It's free. It don't cost you nothing. It just helps me. Helps the algorithm. It gets the people going. So again, let me go back to my topic. This stress-inducing system that we live in, we have to have the correct, the appropriate, the proper tools, the proper perspective, the proper tools to manage it so that the stress doesn't kill us. It is one of the top killers. It is a silent killer, meaning it does things to you that you don't know it's doing. You know, you can grab a diabetic kit and check your blood glucose. The numbers are the numbers. You can grab a blood pressure monitor and check your BP. The numbers are the numbers. The scale is the scale that will tell you if you've been impacted. But there is no kit. There's no machine that you can go up to Walmart or your local pharmacy and buy it and test to see how you're being impacted by the stress. Now, there are signs. There are telltale signs. But you have to have that knowledge in and of yourself. Or you can sign up for counseling and therapy, and they may begin to show you how to monitor yourself, to notice the signs, to notice when you're being impacted even though you didn't know it. But that's for another day. As I said, I'm talking about just the idea of the stress. Hopefully I'm giving you some ideas and maybe you'll look into it. But so you have the group of people who live in a bubble. Then you have the group of people who they're aware, fully aware of the racism, how it exists, how it plays out. They understand the macro racism, the micro racism, and everything in between. But they choose, understandably so, they choose to ignore it. I'm not going to let that be what defines me. I'm not going to focus on that. That's fine. That is a viable response to oppression. I'm not going to say if it's the best one. I don't necessarily think it's the best one, but it depends on what your goal is. Like, my goal might be to eradicate the oppression. So that's not the best response for me personally. Your goal might be just to avoid the hammer. So then that might be the better option for you. But so you have the people who live in the bubble, the people who step outside the bubble, and so they are aware and conscious of all of these darts being thrown at us every day. But they say, I'm going to, as long as I close my eyes, I shall not fear. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death. So more power to them as well. But don't think that if you walk that life, don't think that stress is not impacting you, because it still is. We just don't have a monitor. We just don't have a prick machine. But it's still impacting you. Now, if you find yourself in a situation, in a position where, you're always experiencing medical issues and nobody can find out why, you might want to start thinking about stress. If you go to the doctor because you're having pains and they say, well, we checked we ran the blood work, we don't see nothing. We ran a scan, we don't see nothing. We ran an MRI, we don't see nothing. You might be feeling the effects of stress. Now, this is true whether we're talking about racism or not. I'm just saying racism is so intimately entrenched into the system. If you are I don't want to say victim, if you are a target or a proposed target, if you are one of the groups of people who racism is geared to oppress, then welcome to America. So, again, the groups of people, the airheads, the bubbleheads, the people who live inside the bubble, they live in their fantasy world where everything is hunky-dory. The people who wake up foundationally conscious, minimally conscious, and you're fully aware of all of these attacks on the person, attacks on the culture, attacks on the race, systematic and on an individual microaggression level. But you do your best to ignore it. That's group number 2. Group number 3, the more active advocates against, the freedom fighters, the abolitionists, the revolutionaries, the free speech, the critical thinkers, the big mouths on the block. If I put it a more simplistic way, those who might model themselves off of brothers like Kwame Nkrumah and Malcolm X and Elijah Muhammad, the 5%ers, so to speak, those who have the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, and try to utilize said knowledge, wisdom, and understanding to free the people, to wake the people up, to resurrect the dead, mentally speaking at least. Now you, brothers and sisters, you are the number one bullseye target for stress. You are the ones that have to make sure you understand stress as the number one silent killer, especially in the black community, because it sneaks around and slithers around and it gets into you when you're least aware. It's like a germ. You can't see no germs, but germs are real. Stress is like a germ. It's like bacteria. It'll get in you when you least expect it. If you don't have means, if you don't have knowledge that this is what happens, then you can't have means to fight and combat it. If you don't have means to fight and combat it, then it just eats you up alive until one day, though the doctors can find nothing on the MRI, something's not working. And you're laying in a hospital bed, still waiting for yet one more round of tests to come back. It's stress. And chronic stress over prolonged periods of time can do your body even more damage. So I say all this to say, mental health check, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, mental health check. We need to be about the business of fighting the good fight, but we also need to be about the business of maintaining the temple of our body and the temple of our mind, and making sure it is attuned to best practices of health, mental and otherwise. Eat right, get the right amount of sleep. You will be forever under duress if you're running off of 3 and 4 and 5 hours of sleep every day. You got to find some kind of way to break the pattern and get them 8. I'm just saying. So as I conclude this verbal dichotomy, that's probably not the right word. As I end this conversation, I would just like to say, like, share, and subscribe, ladies and gentlemen. Like, share, and subscribe. We can duke it out in the comments. If I'm wrong about anything, let me know on the battlefield. If I'm right about something, then let's have a peace treaty in the comment section. So this is Shabazz with the proper perspective. These are my thoughts while I do my walk and talk. This is what I'm getting from spirit. This is my spiritual download, and I just decided to share. So hit the like button. Share this with somebody you know that might find it interesting. Subscribe to the channel by hitting the button, the bell, the notification bell, and hit the all when it pops up. And I will catch you on the next live. Or I should say, I will catch you on the next walk and talk. Peace.